step-by-step na guide sa pagsisimula sa low carb and fasting lifestyle para sa mga beginners. Tuturuan ko kayo kung paano magsimula ng low carb lifestyle the right way for the first 2 weeks. I know marami na sa inyo yung mga expert na. You are already used to low carb lifestyle, and this video is made para sa mga pamilya ninyo, sa mga kaibigan, at sa kung sino man yung makakadaan sa ating Facebook page and YouTube page at gustong magsimula ng kanilang low carb journey and fasting para sa better health, and of course para make sure na yung ating risk of having illness na magkasakit would be less, hindi yung lalala. So what will help us is the Happy Healthy Planner na I will give away at the end of the video. Pero sa ngayon, we will just make this as a guide, and for those naman na hindi makakakuha nito, don't worry, hindi naman ito necessary, hindi ito essential. But what is in here is something that can help us when it comes to starting LCF the right way. So this is just a planner that I made para matulungan yung lahat. So meron tayong first part would be the introduction. So yung introduction dito ay magsisimula sa pag-simplify ng low carb nutrition and yung pinaka-basic na idea when it comes to fasting. So first, low carb nutrition, kailangan munang alamin natin ano ba ang low carb nutrition. So ang low carb nutrition is just a way of eating na pinipili nating pababain yung ating calorie intake galing sa carbohydrates, specifically in the forms of sugar, fructose, or starch, or the equivalent of those. At kapag pinababa na natin yon to 50 grams in a day, that is already a good step. So 50 grams of starch or glucose, kung sa pure sugar to, yung katumbas nito ay nasa 12 teaspoons of white sugar. And kung sa rice naman, equivalent ito sa nasa 1 cup of rice lamang or nasa 2 slice ng bread o sa 2 pandesal. So kung gusto nyo i-lower down yung carbohydrate, at ayaw, hindi pa kayo ready mag-let go ng kanin o ng tinapay, so you can retain, pero isa lang doon. So either 1 cup of rice in the whole day or one slices of pandesal plus another kind of bread na walang tamis for the other time, or you can choose to also have like sweets kung yun talaga yung gusto niyo. But mind you, if you consume these kinds of carbohydrates, especially kung i-consume niyo sila in one sitting, this can still have the effect of elevated blood sugar. That's why sa mga kayang magsimula ng wala nito, right there and then, mas mabuti actually yung kanila ring na experience. The first 3 days of sugar withdrawal, the first 3 days of the withdrawal of carbohydrates sa kanilang pagkain, eto lang yung phase of transition. Nahihirapan sila, they feel having headache, nahihilo, they have dizziness, and for some, parang marami silang craving, but that is because na when they remove the carbohydrates, when they remove that, wala rin silang ni-replace. So, yung nangyayari actually, nagiging overall total calorie deficit sila. Kinontian nila yung kanilang overall intake and hindi na masustain ng kanilang katawan yung kanilang pangangailangan when it comes to energy and most importantly, the electrolytes. But don't worry, at the end of this, you will know how to avoid those side effects of starting out low carb lifestyle para hindi nyo ma-experience yung mga side effect na yon. So, when it comes to carbohydrates, saan natin kukunin? If we have an allowance of 20 grams to 50 grams of carbohydrates, saan natin yun kukunin? So usually, when it comes to low carb, yung pinipili nating carbohydrate source would be the carbohydrates na mababa sa overall calories pero mataas sa micronutrients, mataas sa vitamins, mataas sa minerals, mataas din sa contents ng electrolytes even. And pero nakakabusog sila pero hindi sila nakaka-add ng blood sugar burden. Hindi sila nakakapag-spike ng blood sugar. Therefore, yung insulin level sa body hindi rin tumataas, and that insulin level in the body also, when it is lowered, it will be enough to slowly transition na bababain na rin yung pamamaga sa katawan. So, the next time that you are going to do low carb, kapag magre-restart kayo, hindi naman kailangang zero carb talaga. So, low carb is just lower carbohydrate, and the best replacement para sa kanin, para sa tinapay, para sa pansit, at para sa marami pang carbohydrates na parating kinakain o mga kamote, because yung kamote is still a root crop, and root crop is starch. Ano pa bang usual na parating iniisip? Like saging na saba yung niluluto. So that is still lots of glucose, fructose, and starch. So mataas pa rin yun. It is still considered as high carb food. So pinaka-replacement dyan would be the vegetables, the non-starchy vegetables. Ano yung non-starchy vegetables? Ito yung mga gulay na hindi mataas sa glucose, hindi mataas sa starch. Hindi sila mataas sa mga components na nakakapagpataas ng blood sugar. So the green leafy vegetables would be your best bet when it comes to low carb vegetables. Marami namang iba. Yung pinakausong-uso would be pepino, cucumber. Yes, it is filling. Hindi rin siya mataas sa carbohydrates, hindi siya mataas sa glucose, pero it might not also be the best when it comes to nutrient density. Kung kakain man kayo ng mga pipino, make sure that you are also eating it together with other healthier, nutrient-dense foods. Ano yung nutrient-dense foods? So, dito na tayo mag-move on. Once you already covered what is low carb, paano pababain yung iyong carbohydrate, and yes, hindi po kasama yung pagkain ng mga biskwit, pagkain ng crackers in between kapag nagugutom kayo, because those are still carbohydrates, and those are still starch. Oatmeal, starch pa rin po yun. Grains, mais, starch pa rin po yun. So, that's why we would like you to lower down your carbohydrate. But hindi kayo magugutom because hindi kakain agad-agad. Fasting is a part of low carb journey, pero you don't need to do it right then and there because may tamang transition, and that's why after doing your nutrition low carb, you will incorporate protein. So, nandyan yan. Proteins, kailangan i-prioritize natin dito. And we have here na kailangan i-choose natin yung proteins na may mataas na bioavailability, meaning yung kanyang proteins and amino acids na nandito is well absorbed by the human body. Ang mga proteins na ito ay halimbawa yung galing sa animal sources like fish, yung mga shrimp, seafood, itlog, lean meats of chicken, pork, beef, lamb, carabao, kambing, at marami pang iba. So the more organic, the more humanely and sustainably raised, the better. And try to avoid processed meats because they can be inflammatory. Although maraming studies ngayon showing na hindi naman talaga sila yung direct na nakaka-cause ng cancer and other inflammation. And most likely, these are inflammatory because processed foods are taken usually together. So baka hindi talaga yung mga previous studies na nagsasabi na ang processed meats yung nakaka-cancer, baka hindi yung processed meat, baka yung patatas o yung kanin o yung tinapay na kasama nito, or the soft drink that comes with your fast food meal na merong hotdog. So we actually don't know, but what is seen now in the recent studies, there is no direct effect between processed meats and cancer formation. But if you want to be safe, so of course you can limit them. That's what we do in our Life Without Rice and Low Carb Feasting and Fasting community. We try to limit processed meats as much as possible. That's why wala naman siya sa yung pinaka danger talaga o yung pinaka kailangan mong i-avoid all your life, but you just have to minimize them. You can consume them, but be very, very cautious and be very mindful when you consume them. And best pa rin, kapag yung i-consume ninyo would be the kind of meat na fresh, yung galing talaga sa market, yung kayo talaga bumili, na hilaw pa at kayo yung magluluto. Make it your way of cooking the simplest way para din mas makuha ninyo yung full nutrient profile nito. And for vegetarians naman, those na hindi kumakain ng karne, you can still get your protein needs. Hindi naman kailangan kumain ng karne if ever talaga ayaw ninyo. There can still be options. So mushrooms, the beans, and the certain nuts and seeds, yon, pwede yon. But mind you, when you eat coming from beans and lentils and legumes and nuts, pwedeng mataas din ito sa starch component, especially kung maramihan yung kakainin nyo. Among the plant-based foods, yung mushroom would be the one yung isa yun sa pinaka mataas yung kaniyang nutrient profile when it comes to protein component. So, sa mga nuts, try to avoid pistachio, kasoy, at saka peanut kasi sila medyo ano yan, high carb yan, mataas yung kanilang starch. Yung peanuts, hindi siya actually mataas sa starch. It's just 8 grams per 100 grams, but it can be inflammatory. Meron kasi siyang aflatoxins, meron siyang mga lectins, marami siyang phytotoxins na para sa mga taong meron pang sakit ngayon, meron pang ongoing inflammation, it can not be very helpful. It might not be very helpful for those with current condition ng inflammation. So, try to select non-GMO beans kung meron man, and be watchful of your own individual sensitivity sa mga ito because baka maka-experience kayo ng some degree of inflammation. So next would be the fats. So ano naman sa fats? Be choosy sa fats. So hindi lahat ng fats ay masama sa katawan. The same way na hindi lahat ng fats ay mabuti sa katawan. There are certain fats that are good for us at meron din mga fats na hindi talaga okay sa atin. So the well-known good fats would be coconut, avocado, olives, and even animal fat. So yes, rendered animal fats galing sa baka, galing sa baboy, galing sa other meats, especially the ones from fish, yung mga fatty fish. Those are actually one of the healthiest forms of fats because those are natural fats. So, kasama na dito, fish oil, lard o taba ng baboy, butter, ghee, yung anong tawag doon, yung para siyang kinoncentrate at na filtered na butter. So, yun yung ghee, talo or taba ng baka, and real raw nuts. So, yung oil sa mga nuts, those are also good source. Palm oil is biologically okay, but it might not be the best for the environment. And there are two types of palm oil, yung nanggaling sa pulp at nanggaling sa seed. Make sure that kung gagamit man kayo ng palm oil, yung kanyang source would be the pulp. Okay? Yung parang yung nasa bunga talaga at hindi yung nasa seed, yung matigas. Because the one in the seed can still be inflammatory oil. So avoid factory-made oils. Most vegetable seed oils tulad ng rapeseed, canola oil or Canada oil, it was first discovered at ginamit ito for industrial use. Yung canola oil or Canada oil, ginawa siya noon para sa mga machines, para for use in factories. But later, nakita nga nila na this oil, pwede palang ma-filter, pwede pang ma-process na mawala yung amoy nito and it is clear in color at hindi siya tumitigas kahit sa malamig. And since meron na yung unfounded wrong fear na yung mga oil na tumitigas kapag malamig ay nakakabara ng ugat ng puso, which is now proven to be not true. In fact, yung American Heart Association now is nagsabi na wala ng cap, wala silang nilagay na upper limit when it comes to consumption of dietary cholesterol and saturated fats because there's no study showing a direct link na ito talaga ang cause ng heart attacks and heart problems. And those heart attacks and heart problems are usually now seen to be associated with inflammation in the body, too much insulin in the body. And those insulin and inflammation in the body, number one culprit would be sugar. And this one, the seed oil. Ito actually yung isa sa culprit because I'm sure meron kayong kilala na heart attack, na stroke, but yung kanilang lab results is actually normal. Hindi mataas yung kanilang blood cholesterol level. They are even taking statins, but still heart attack, stroke, cardiovascular disease because recent studies nga show na yung absolute risk ratio of taking statins will actually not really help when it comes to prevention. Nasa 0.04% lang yung pagbaba ng risk nito. But the overall effect when it comes to the inflammation in the body, it's not much very helpful. So that's why when it comes to fats, avoid nyo yung mga oil na seed oils. Again, going back to Canada oil or canola oil, ginawa itong labeled as healthy oil kasi mataas ito sa monounsaturated fats. Ito yung fats na nakapagpapataas supposedly ng good fats. But what they didn't tell you is that mataas nga ito sa monounsaturated fat, but mataas din ito sa omega-6, which is an inflammatory fat. And when we consume them too much and together with other inflammatory foods, then that is making a very, very fertile bed for inflammation to grow. So try to avoid them and just use olive oil, extra virgin olive oil for your salads. And para naman sa inyong mga cooking needs, you can use coconut oil or lard or butter or tallow. So, our body needs a balance of fats and proteins for better immunity and health function. A good portion, dapat merong about equal amount of omega-3 to omega-6 ratio yung kinakain natin. So, don't overindulge then. Not because na yung butter, yung fat, yung lard, yung tallow ay okay, ay sobra-sobra na yung pag-consume nito. No, also. So, that's what we are saying. Do not overindulge then because too much fats is also not very helpful. You will be increasing your LDL and then you will be increasing a lot of your ketones na hindi mo naman ginagamit, especially if you are not very physically active. So anything in excess, hindi rin maganda. So when starting low carb, yes, you may not avoid fats, pero hindi nyo rin ito kailangan karirin na puro taba na lang yung kakainin ninyo. So try to remove that mindset. So a good balance of fats into protein ratio is the key. So, paano yon? So, yung sinasabi ko, kapag order kayo ng isang pork chop, okay. Isa pork chop, dalawang pork chop, okay lang yon. Kainin yung karne, kainin din yung taba. Kung kakain ng isang quarter chicken, kainin yung chicken, kainin din yung skin. Pero, hindi na kailangan umorder pa ng extra chicken skin. Hindi na kailangan sabihin pa na kung hihingi ka ng extra taba o di kaya iinumin mo pa yung mantikang pinanggamitan mo nito or kakain ka pa ng chicharon on top of your pork belly or your beef belly. So that would be too much na. So kung ano lang yung natural ratio ng fats to that component of that food, so that's okay. Maybe kung takot kayo sa chicken skin, so what you can do is just like lean breast ng chicken and then that one since tinanggal nyo yung skin so pwede kayo maka-add ng butter to compensate sa nawalang taba nito. So those are the options that you can do, okay? So para wala tayong excess energy na hindi natin ginagamit. So you can increase your omega-3 intake and foods that elevates HDL, yung good cholesterol, and that would include fish oils and then olive oil and coconut oil and some seeds, nuts as well. And next would be the vegetables. So it is a good option generally, pero not for all. So I think we've already discussed about vegetables, kung ano yung pwede niyong kainin. Pero special mention lang sa may mga autoimmune disease, sa merong mga thyroid problems, merong psoriasis, merong inflammatory bowel disease tulad ng Crohn's disease, merong IBD, and then merong ulcerative colitis, merong mga eczema, may asthma, merong mga allergic rhinitis. So all of those manifestations of allergies and inflammation, you have to also watch out for kasi you may have some degree of sensitivities na hindi nyo lang na-uncover when it comes to vegetables. Yan. And we are back. Nawala yung signal natin. And so, yung vegetables, we are talking about the vegetables na para sa mga possible na may mga sensitivities dito, then you might have to watch out. So, merong food elimination protocol for this. And I hope you get to learn more about that. Kasi kapag meron ka ng autoimmune disease, then that would mean na meron ka ng tatawag nating possible end organ damage kasi nagkaroon na nga ng manifestations of too much sensitivity and it already lead into manifestation of illness. So vegetables are generally good but try to avoid yung mga merong sensitivity to oxalate, phytates, lectins, at iba pang anti-nutrients. Kung meron man gustong hindi pa makalet go ng certain vegetables, the ones that you can consume but in amount na makokontrol ninyo would be the root crops. Like, for all the vegetables na nasa plant-based, try to avoid first the grains. Okay? The grains are not really destined for us to consume humans kasi even if na-discover ito during agricultural revolution, pero it is just a very little part of our history as humans. So, yung ating gut biome, hindi talaga ganon kasanay na kumakain tayo ng modern day grains. So that's why those needs to be eliminated. When it comes naman to fruits, yung fruits limit then only in season at kung pwede, yung mga fruits na considered as low carb lang at yung mga fruits na hindi nagdaan sa processing like pesticides at maraming mga GMOs at hindi na marami ng mga flowering na hindi na siya natural by nature. And when you consume them, even if they are locally available, even if these fruits are in season, you also have to be mindful. Kailangan hindi tayo unlimited kapag kumain ng prutas, not because tanim nyo yung prutas na yon at libre yon, ay uubusin nyo na yung buong bunga nito. No, because fruits would contain a lot of fructose and glucose. At para sa mga nagsisimula pa lang, you might want to lower it down pa. Lower it down muna para magbigyan muna ng pagkakataon yung katawan natin na makarecover sa buong buhay natin kumakain lang ng puro high carb foods. And now, nutrients always target micronutrients as well. Yes, yung ating emphasis is lower the carbohydrates and increase more on the proteins and prioritize proteins and make sure you also have enough fat intake. Pero those are macronutrients. Actually, yung recent studies, mabubuhay tayo with very little amount of calories na kakainin natin. Like, yung mga nagka-calorie deficit, kung mayroon tayong mga kilalang mga lolo-lola natin na kahit kumakain ng kanin, ay buhay pa din ngayon. Pero kung titingnan mo, yung overall intake nila ng pagkain, actually konti lang. So, they are actually on calorie deficit. Natutulog sila ng sobrang aga at gumigising sila in the morning at doon lang sila kumakain. They are actually doing circadian fasting, to which we will discuss in a little while. So, the most important part is the micronutrients. And micronutrients can be taken from vegetables and also from meat. So, red meat is one of the most nutritious. From time to time, kung kumakain kayo ng atay, you can eat organ meat and liver atay. Kahit isang piraso lang, maliit na piraso, 5 times a week, that is already okay. Hindi rin kailangan ng maramihan because that might also lead into elevated iron levels in the body na hindi rin naman natin kailangan, especially sa mga lalaki, because yung mga lalaki hindi naman nagsished off ng iron, unlike women na nagme-menstruation. So, every month, meron talagang kakaunting iron na wawawala. So, for males, you also have to be mindful. Huwag sobra-sobra sa organ meat din. Organ meat can be very nutritious. It can be nutrient dense. Pero kapag sobra-sobra kayo nito, meron ding condition as vitaminosis. So, too much vitamins in your body, especially sa trace amount lang sana ng vitamins and minerals na kapag nag-sobra-sobra sa ating katawan is also not good. So, yon for fructose, make sure na you eliminate. So, one way to do that is to just avoid buying ready-made foods, especially yung mga fraps, yung mga milk tea, yung mga flavored drinks, yogurt drinks sa mga bata. Those are usually loaded with fructose, and if you keep on eating that, sobrang laki ng risk of developing fatty liver kapag mataas sa fructose. So, makakasave na kayo kasi hindi na kayo bibili sa mga tindahan, hindi na kayo kailangan bumili sa mga coffee shop na mga ganyan. And you are also saving yourself not just from future na pagkaroon ng problema sa health and even sa spending, sa economy, sa finances, because you will prevent having illness in the long run. So for low carb treat, sa mga nagsisimula pa lang, yes, you can accommodate that. Kaya nga lang, kapag ina-accommodate nyo yan, malaking chance na baka matagal kayong makapag-transition into a safe, real low carb, nutrient dense low carb because ang ating utak, it functions in a way that whatever you feed it, it will crave it. So, if parati kayong nag-give in sa inyong mga treats, sa inyong mga cravings, most likely after 2 days, after 3 days, magka-crave na naman kayo ulit. So if you want to break the cycle of cravings and then maghahanap na naman ng pagkain, then you might actually want to consume a low carb diet. So if you can avoid it altogether, all the better. So next, as you do this, you can do this way of eating for 2 weeks. So 2 weeks of low carb kung pwede kumain kayo on the safe list. So in our journal, yan, nandito yung safe list natin. So yung safe list natin, ito yung mga food na okay kainin sa mga nagsisimula with the exemption of course, yung sabi natin sa may mga autoimmune disease because some of the vegetables might be triggering your inflammation. So safe list here, this is just a generic safe list. It's in green. And for those na gustong mag-create na kanilang safe list, especially sa mga nag-enroll sa ating autoimmune masterclass, you can follow the food elimination protocol which is very personalized at ikaw lang ang makakagawa. And the moment you already identify kung ano yung safer food for you aside from the one in here, you can write here your own safe list. Okay? And then we also have here the yellow page. This is the caution list. So, you can emphasize here, pwede mo i-underline yung mga pagkain parati mong kinakain dito, yung nahihirapan kang iwasan para mas maging mindful ka. Okay? And the last one, of course, would be the danger list. And pwede pa kayong mag-supply dito ng mga specific brands, specific na food products that you know are dangerous for you to remind you, for you and your loved ones, kung ano yung dapat nyong iwasan. So, try to do a 2-week restart. You can eat as much as you want. So, pwedeng walang fasting muna. Kapag gutom, kumain as long as nasa safe list. So, hindi kailangan mag-isip ng fasting. Sa first 2 weeks, you can eat as much as you want. Huwag mag-alala sa calories, huwag mag-alala sa temporary weight gain, although that is less likely. Pero sa mga gusto namang magpataba, gustong lumaki yung kanilang body weight, eating as much as you can the low carb way is actually very good because you will have the opportunity to increase your muscle mass. Lalaki yung muscle mass ninyo, bibigat yung inyong weight coming from the muscles, not coming from the fats. But it will not lead into inflammation. There are even people who are now thriving in carnivore. So meron ng mga carnivore na mga groups and they've been doing well and lahat, all ages, yung mga babies, yung mga anak nila, they are carnivore and they are not forcing their children. Merong lahat ng pagkain dyan, but since they are not biased anymore, hindi na nila pinipilit kumain ng patatas, hindi na nila pinipilit kumain ng gulay or mga tinapay yung kanilang mga anak. And when they started doing that, nakikita nila na a young child, yung bata, natural niya, kung hahayaan mo lang siya, uunahin niya yung kakainin yung mga karne, yung mga itlog, all the meat actually. Only goes to show that our nature talaga is eating meat kapag wala lang influence ng others when it comes to intake of food items that are now marketed as healthy, the 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 vegan meat na nilabel pa nila as meat pero gagawin na namang vegan. So that is not very natural. It's actually full of ingredients na very inflammatory and ingredients that are highly processed. So between a beef na isang raw 3 minutes cooking lang makakain mo na, and as compared to something na ginawa sa factory and then na process at kailangan pang lagyan ng maraming extenders, emulsifiers, pampadikit, pampabango, flavorings, saan yung mas natural dyan? It's very basic. It's common sense. Yung highly processed, yung gawa sa factory, of course, that is not natural and that is not something na natural for us to consume because kailan lang yun na-invento? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, kahit pa 100 years ago, that is still hindi comparable sa thousands of years na nasanay tayo as hunter-gatherers na kumakain ng animal meat. But of course, moving forward to our low carb lifestyle, hindi lang basta low carb lifestyle. Kasi kumakain nga tayo ng karne, kumakain tayo ng meat, but eto yon. Yung iba, may sinasabi na hindi healthy kumain ng karne. Of course, it is healthy. But what is not healthy is if you overconsume it. Just like everything else, kapag sobra-sobra, hindi talaga maganda. And that is why low carb nutrition is usually paired with fasting. So even if I'm eating meat almost every day, pero hindi naman ako kumakain ng 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 5 times a day. Maximum, I only eat twice a day. At may mga araw pa na once a day. At may mga araw din na no meal a day. So that's a total 24 hours fasting. Fasting is really good, but for beginners, hindi nyo yan kailangan gawin. Although personally, our family started with fasting. Second love namin yung low carb. We started with fasting first, and that's why naramdaman namin yung mga side effects ng paghihilo, sakit ng ulo. But what helped is now we realize na kung gusto nyo ng mas sustainable kind of transition, pwede kayong mag-low carb lang muna. That 2 weeks of doing low carb, kahit nga hindi pa umaabot ng 2 weeks, you will see na nagiging fat adapted na kayo. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng fat adaptation? Being fat adapted, ito yung katawan ninyo ay nasasanay ng mag-consume ng energy coming from fats, hindi lang galing sa glucose, hindi lang kayo carbohydrate dependent na. So maganda dyan is yung inyong energy source would be coming from glucose now and ketones and fatty acids, and these can be well supplemented. Kayang-kaya yan ng low carb lifestyle, and the moment you have that, it will be like magic. Para siyang magic kasi hindi ka na mag-crave. You can see yourself na kahit nasa harap mo yung kanin, wala ka nang pakialam. Usually, the struggle would be the first 3 days only, especially sa mga kumakain or naninirahan sa mga bahay or sumasabay sa pagkain ng mga other people who are eating rice and other carbs. But if you have the right mindset, if you have a specific goal, kung gusto mong ma-reach na yung blood pressure mo in the next 2 months ay bababa na, kung gusto mo na yung blood sugar for the first time ever pagkagising mo, yung fasting blood sugar mo na ginawa mo sa yung glucometer, kinuha mo would be below 100, then make sure that you will also have that reminder sa inyong isipan para hindi nyo makalimutan. So, kahit gaano pa yan kahirap, it will always be kaya, it will always be possible if you have a deeper why. So, dapat we always remind ourselves kung ano yung pinakarason talaga natin, why we want to be healthy, if it's your family, or kung meron kang project na gustong gawin, meron kang mission in life na gusto mong mapagpatuloy. So, try to always remind yourself of those reasons. So, after 2 weeks or sometimes less than 1 week or sometimes more than 2 weeks, you will now be ready to do your fasting, and you can just start with circadian fasting. That is 12 hours lang, but eat when you are most active. At yung last meal intake would be 4 to 6 hours before your intended bedtime. So, kayo na lang mag-a-adjust if night shift kayo, but for the regular daytime jobs, so kung matutulog kayo ng 10 o'clock, make sure na tapos na kayong kumain by 6 o'clock. Kung matutulog na kayo by 11, try to make sure na tapos na kayo by 7, or if you can even extend it to 6 hours. So, before sundown, 4 to 6 hours, kung pwede nang tapos na kayong kumain, that would be better. And, for example, last kain ninyo is alas 6 ng gabi. So, huling subo yun hindi yung pag-start pa lang ng pagkain. So, if you start eating at 5 and then you finish your dinner around 6 o'clock ng gabi, by morning, pagkagising ninyo sa umaga, pwede na kayong kumain as early as 6 a.m. But I presume and I would predict na if you did low carb the right way, most likely, kapag kinain nyo ay low carb, pagkagising nyo sa umaga, hindi pa rin kayo gutom. Just like me, my last meal yesterday, my whole heavy meal was around, anong oras yan? Around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yun lang yung big meal ko, but sa gabi, mga around 8 o'clock, yun nga, while waiting for my ride, nag-kombucha ako, and I also take a bottle of Greek yogurt. So, yun yung last meal ko. So, it was 8 o'clock. And so right now, I'm already at my 12, 13, going 14 hours of fasting. So you can slowly move from 12 hours, pwede nyo gawing 13, 14, 15, depending on your weight goal. Kung yung goal weight ninyo ay hindi naman for weight loss, then you can just leave at 12 hours of eating. Pwede pa rin kayong kumain ng 3 meals a day. Make sure it's low carb and prioritizing your proteins. And for weight gain, try to incorporate exercises. Magbuhat ng mga weights, kahit body weight lang. You can do squats, you can do lunges, pwede kayong magbuhat ng mga mineral water, tigpa 5 kilos on each side, 5 liters on each side. That is already a good start for you to build muscles. For those naman who wants to lose weight, the first 2 weeks, you can eat as much as you want. But after you get fat adapted, kapag nagsisimula nang mag-burn ng fats yung inyong katawan, mawawala na kayo ng ganang kumain, huwag matakot. That is actually a good sign. And that is also the time that you can already try to lessen your food intake para naman mabigyan ng pagkakataon na yung extra taba natin sa ating katawan ay ma-burn din. So, that is our major transition when it comes to low carb and fasting. At yung isang pinaka-importante when transitioning is to never avoid salt. Wag po pababain yung salt intake. Yung pagpababa ng salt intake or kung sanay kayo sa low salt diet at hindi nyo in-increase ito, nag-low carb kayo diretso, all the side effects, sakit ng ulo, panghihilo, even fluctuations ng blood pressure, biglang tumataas, biglang bumababa, those are actually related to electrolyte imbalance. Maraming electrolytes, we have another video for that. But if you are still starting, by just making sure na enough yung inyong salt intake, you are already going to avoid 80% siguro ng mga side effect na yon because salt is very much essential. Kailangan natin ng at least 2 teaspoons, 2 kutsarita ng asin sa ating katawan. So that ends our lecture. Medyo mataas, no? Ang dadal ko, kinukulang na ako, hindi pa ako uminom ng water. I will have to take water because this is going to be my last water intake for the day. And that is going to be the last part of our live ngayon and our announcement. So for my announcement, actually, today I will undergo a procedure, an elective surgery, and it's plastic surgery. I am a plastic surgeon. A lot of you know me as Diet Doctora because I always talk a lot about nutrition, about low carb, about fasting. Pero yung subspecialty ko talaga is ENT and facial plastic surgery. So I'm a plastic surgeon focusing on the face and head and neck lang. Pababa, wala na tayong pakialam dyan. So I'm a head and neck surgeon and a facial plastic aesthetic surgery. So to play the part and also aside from the obvious reason that we want to improve, I will undergo a plastic surgery procedure. Magpapa-improve tayo ng ating mata at ng ating ilong. And so, in the coming days, in the coming 3 weeks, baka hindi na tayo magkikita. And this is going to be my last live. Although, I already prepared a lot of videos for you to watch in the coming days. And hopefully, makakapag-video pa rin tayo the moment na we are already fully recovered, because it is expected na mamamaga yung ating katawan kahit pa ating mukha, kahit pa naka-low carb tayo. And so to conclude this day and to give a somewhat a ceremonial na time for this video, this is going to be my last live na ganito pa yung mukha ko. I will celebrate this one because this is also, ayoko rin, hindi ko kakalimutan yung dati kong mukha. And I value how I look, but I value it even more na gusto ko siyang i-improve. And so to mark this day in celebration also of my parents na nagbigay sa akin ng mukha ganito, we will celebrate it by taking a souvenir sa ganitong mukha. And for those of you who are watching, I will give a Happy Healthy Planner. The first 100 na people who will send a message sa ating masterclass group na merong picture ko sa live na ito na ganito yung damit ko, and then you can do a selfie with another device na nandito yung aking mukha, tayong dalawa magkatabi, or you can do a collage or mag-edit kayo sa kahit anong app na merong yung itsura ninyo at itsura ko, because this is going to be my last video with this face I will give you a happy, healthy planner. All you need is the shipping na lang. Kung nandito sa Manila, we can ship it soon for those nasa province. So, we can have it delivered via courier. So, ilagay nyo lang yung inyong pangalan, and then yung inyong specific address, especially the barangay. Yung barangay, pinaka-importante yon, and the contact number, and yung photo natin together to celebrate my life with this face. It has been a good 33 years na gito yung mukha ko, and I'm excited to have another journey na magkaiba na. I know magkakaroon ng mix na reactions dyan. Marami yung hindi magiging very supportive kasi tanggap na nila kung ano yung mukha ko. And I thank you so much for appreciating na kung ano man yung mukha natin. But know that this is for a reason, and pinag-isipan natin to ng mabuti. And for those naman who are going to support me, especially my family and loved ones, I thank you all very much sa lahat. At don't worry, hindi pa rin tayo magbabago. Meron lang improvement. Para lang tayong actually nagpa-filter. Yung filter na ginagamit natin sa TikTok, parang yun lang. But it's just that this time it's going to be a real life. So, yun. Yun lang yung announcement natin. Sa mga interested with low carb and fasting lang, okay lang yan. Pwede na kayong lumabas at huwag nang manood kasi baka hindi na kayo interested sa aking personal journey. So, what you need to do is message nyo po. Puntahan nyo yung ating page for LCF Masterclass kasi nandun yung mga admins natin. They will assist you. So, para sa gustong, especially sa mga top fans ng ating page, maraming salamat for all your support. So, we will give away 100 happy, healthy planner. At yung maganda dito is the planner is not any planner. This is very unique in the world kasi ito lang yung planner na merong nakalagay na kung saan yung pagkain. So, kung nakastay ba kayo sa safe list, sa caution list, o sa danger list, at kung anong oras yung inyong fasting, anong oras kayo nagbukas ng inyong fasting window, anong oras kayo nag-close ng inyong eating window, at ito naman yung remarks. Kasi maraming apps to track fasting, but there are other people na manual pa rin yung gusto. Just like I do, I track it for record purposes, pero ako, mas gusto ko talaga yung nagsusulat. And I think journaling, writing down my thoughts, writing down all the things that I need to do, isa yon sa nakatulong sa akin to be productive, more productive than I used to be nang wala pang ganito. So yun lang yun. To recap, take a screenshot or a selfie photo with you and me na eto pa to mark this last day of mine na ganito yung itsura ko to have a happy healthy planner 2022. Please pray for me, guys. I'll see you the next video na live na magkikita tayo ay iba na yung mukha natin. And I thank my surgeon and my colleagues and my mentors for all the support. They're so excited and supportive sa decision natin. And I will also make a journey vlog when it comes to my transformation, when it comes to my plastic surgery soon. So I will just upload it in YouTube. So, okay, ready na kayo? Take a selfie and send your name, specific address with barangay and your contact number para ma-shift namin sa inyo yung inyong Happy Healthy Planner 2022. So yan, okay? Thank you so much, everyone. Yun lang po. I-message niyo, wag niyo i-send sa doctor page ha. I-send niyo sa Facebook na page na LCF Masterclass by yours truly. Kasi nandun yung mga admins natin. That's the official page for enrollment sa ating masterclass. But for those of you who are interested with the planner, you can send it there. Doon niyo po i-send so that we can give you. Maraming salamat everyone to all of you for all of your support and love and belief at lahat ng good thoughts. All of your prayers are very much appreciated and it's really felt na nararamdaman ko talaga yan sa araw-araw. So maraming salamat po everyone. Always remember to stay low carb so that we all stay safe. Bye!